Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome back to Pagan Tales. Today we are talking about Eros, son of Aphrodite and Ares, or Aphrodite and Hermes, or Aphrodite and Zeus, or even as just the son of Chaos, depending on which sources you reference. Now, after taking a gander at the family tree of Aphrodite last week, I'm beginning to think that the Greek family tree is just as indecipherable as that of the Celtic gods. But moving right along, what we do know is that Eros is a god of love and, of course, also of passion, primarily sexual passion, but also passion in general, and he is a god of fertility. The way Eros was pictured by the ancients seems to have changed quite a bit with time. He was always regarded as very handsome, youthful, winged, but eventually he was depicted more so as an infant, like the familiar Cupid that we all know about. Eros also had his arrows, which was known, and he was known for shooting them into the hearts of maidens to stir their desires, which is one way to stimulate the heart chakra, I suppose. Eros features in several myths, but the story I'd like to draw attention to today is the tale of Eros and Psyche. Psyche was a mortal woman. She was a princess, in fact, and she was just renowned for her great beauty. And it was so staggering that mortal men, especially artists, neglected to worship Aphrodite in favor of venerating Psyche. Now, bear in mind, Psyche is just a human, but she was being honored in divine rites that had been previously reserved only for Aphrodite. And of course, Aphrodite simply wasn't going to put up with this state of affairs. And so Aphrodite decided to send her son Eros to go and shoot his arrows into Psyche and then make her fall in love with the absolute ugliest creature in all of the world. Not just the ugliest man, but the ugliest creature. I mean, Aphrodite really had it in for her. Meanwhile, Psyche already had pre existing marital difficulties. Her beauty was so great that it was just assumed by people that Aphrodite must be her mother, and so men were afraid to presume to marry Psyche. And Psyche's father, he was at a loss, so he consulted an oracle of Apollo, and this oracle suggested leaving Psyche at the top of a mountain and that she would meet her future husband there. And lo and behold, that's exactly where Psyche met Eros. But instead of making her fall in love with someone unsightly, Eros fell in love with Psyche himself. And it seems a matter of debate about whether these feelings naturally arose from within Eros's heart or if he was under the influence of one of his own arrows. To avoid Aphrodite's wrath, Eros decided to whisk Psyche away to his palace and to make her promise that she would never look upon his face or know his true identity, and that he would only visit her in the dark hours of the night. Psyche agreed, and all was well, at least for a period of time. The monkey wrench came when Psyche's sisters visited her. The sisters were jealous of Psyche's home with her husband, and they decided to make trouble. They began persuading her that she must be married to someone hideously ugly and, perhaps even a monster, and that's why she wasn't allowed to look at her husband's face. Psyche caved into the pressure, and she agreed to look at his face while he was sleeping, and she even went so far as to say that she would kill him in his sleep if he was truly a monster. However, when Psyche looked upon Eros's beautiful, beautiful face, she realized who she was married to, not just that it was this outrageously attractive man, but that it was the god Eros himself. But as she was doing this, Eros woke up and then he vanished, just like he said he would if she ever broke her word to him. Bereft, Psyche then wandered the earth, looking for her husband, but to no avail. In desperation, Psyche begged her mother in law, Aphrodite, for her help. Aphrodite still had her nose out of joint with Psyche and only deigned to assist her if Psyche successfully came through a series of trials. In the end, Psyche did rise to the occasion, and she met the conditions of Aphrodite, and Psyche was granted immortality. Psyche drank of the ambrosia, which is the nectar of the gods, and thereafter she was able to live with Eros openly on Mount Olympus, and then they had a daughter named Hedone. There's an interesting arc to the tale of Eros and Psyche. It began as this unsteady foundation. To begin with, Eros wasn't supposed to fall in love with Psyche at all. That was not the job he was sent to do. But matters of the heart do tend to strike one rather chaotically. And then on top of that, it's not the best start to a marriage for the bride to be unaware of her husband's identity and what he looks like. That's just asking for trouble, and of course, trouble naturally ensued. It was only when Aphrodite gave her blessing, and thereby releasing Eros from his assigned duty and Psyche from being the and forgiving Psyche for being a source of veneration that ought to have gone to Aphrodite. It was only then that the couple was able to be reunited and able to live together on proper terms. Psyche learned a powerful lesson about the importance of keeping her promises, and Eros learned a hard lesson about not expecting unreasonable circumstances to carry on for forever. Dishonesty, whether by omission or by deliberately breaking a confidence, destroys relationships. And it took work for Psyche and Eros to get their marriage back on track, but they did manage it, which is hopefully an encouragement to those who are going through a bad patch in their marriage and they're just struggling to find their way back to each other. If both parties are of good character and they are striving to treat their mate properly and they honestly love one another, that way can be found. And so hopefully this story is an inspiration to people in that situation. Next week, we will be going a bit further south and we will be getting to know the goddess Hathor. But in the meantime, share with me your own thoughts about this story of Eros and Psyche. What do you think about it? Tell me all about it in the comment section. Or send me an email at brigantiablackbird@protonmail.com and I'd be happy to have a discussion with you there. But I think that's where we'll leave it today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.